All I can say is this: Mary Shelley in Hollywood ain't got nothing on me. All right, I wanted to give you a. I started to do a build video, and what it amounted to me was me cutting little pieces of metal and tacking it here, and then cutting something else and tacking it here. It was sheer monotony. It was it was a lot of work for me, and it was a lot of just sitting around, trying to figure stuff out. So I knew it would make for less than compelling audio or video. So I'm just going to show you the finished product. I actually have my foundry done, my foundry furnace done, and I haven't melted anything yet, but I want to really bad. So let me give you a tour of this thing. It's kind of the Frankenstein of furnaces, but I think it's going to work, and I think it's going to work really, really well, largely because of the burner I've got. So let me change the camera angle just a little bit so you can see more of this. You won't get to see my beautiful face, but you'll get to see this stuff. Okay, so if you've watched any of the earlier videos that I did on this thing, I started off with a 5-gallon can that I lined with fire brick, which is what this is all about here. And then I aligned that, once I got the fire brick in here, I lined it with recastable fire brick and then some fire brick mortar as well, just to hold it in place and kind of give me a solid, well, sort of solid view. When I show you at the end here, you'll see that it's not pretty, but I think it's going to be functional. I put it on casters so I could roll it around. I thought that would be kind of a handy feature instead of having to carry it. It's not horrible heavy, but it's not super light either. So one of the things that I did, and I got this idea from watching another video, Jay somebody or another, I'll link his video below. This idea of the lid staying with the furnace. And he built a mechanism very similar to this, where you can take this pedal, push it down, and it would raise the lid up. Right? And then all I have to do is drop the pedal, and I have my lid down onto my furnace. And I like the idea of not having to pick the lid up, especially when it's really hot, and put it someplace. So this is kind of one thing that is a little bit different than some of the small furnaces that people will build. And I kind of like it. It's ugly as all get out. I realize that. It's made out of just stuff I got from the scrapyard. These plates are from the scrap. I did buy this little, I think it's a 4-inch nipple and an 8-inch nipple to put and this is a piece of rebar that I've cleaned up a little bit, ground off some of the edges so it would actually go up and down in here. Just some I think this is 3/8 round stock that I've got from the scrapyard. So it's just whatever I could kind of find, angle iron scrapyard, from the scrapyard, just to be able to get this thing working. And it's pretty simple. I've just got a piece of angle iron with a hole drilled through it and a bolt running through the frame here. Then I welded this piece of 3/8 inch flat bar or round bar on here. And then these two pieces of plate. So the idea is, push the plate down, it lifts this one up, and it will lift that rebar up. I have taken the rebar and I've actually kind of cupped it, rounded it, which made a huge difference as far as just being able to slide across here. When I had it just cut off, it was digging in and binding and stuff, so that was helpful. I also have cleaned up, you can see probably it's shiny up through here. I found that the ridges of my rebar, because of the weight of the lid, pulling this whole thing forward, I would go to let it down, it would catch on the ridge and then it wouldn't close, and I'd have to come over and kind of adjust it by hand, which I don't really want to get into if it's glowing red hot. Okay, so that's really all there is to this mechanism over here, and I just tacked it onto the side of the can, which was an adventure in itself because I burned through the thin sheet metal of this can a number of places. This is the other thing that I did, and this is part of the build video that I'll actually show you part, but I made this cradle here out of more of this 3/16. I just bent, I took this piece, put it in my forge, heated it up, bent it over so I could get it to fit in here at an angle. And then I took this piece and actually wrapped it around a piece of pipe that's the same size as my burner. And let me get my burner and I'll show you how this works. So the burner is really long. This is a 12-inch nipple in here. And it was just because I was playing around trying to get my burner to work, and this is what I ended up with. I'm actually kind of happy with this because when you fire this thing up, a little flame comes out the back, and I wanted it to stay as far away from all this as possible. But the way this cradle works is you just set the burner in there, and the burner actually just kind of lifts itself up. You'll see it, and it'll hit the top of the hole. So that was that, and you'll see at the end, I'll show you how this thing looks in there, but it's pointing kind of right along this edge, this front edge. Not totally though, it doesn't point perfect, so the flame kind of comes here and wraps around, which I think will be okay once I get a crucible in there. And the last thing I want to talk about was this, because this is really probably the biggest deal that I had putting this thing together. I mean, all these pieces and things was just a matter of fiddling around and figuring it out, but this was work. Most people, when they build one of these things, they put some sonotube in the center, they put a piece of tube through here, and then they pour material in, and so then all they have to do is remove that, and they have a hole that's kind of going through at the correct angle, and it makes their life a lot easier. Well, I didn't do that, and as one of the guys I watched says, it was a problem that past me decided future me could deal with. Well, future me wasn't real happy with past me when I came to doing this. What I ended up doing was taking a hole saw and cutting this metal out with the hole saw, but I stopped short of getting into the brick as best I could because the brick is hard enough that it just tears the teeth right off the hole saw. So I just used one of these guys to drill through that, and I tried to hold it at as close an angle as I could, but I couldn't. I'm going to pause right here, and I'm going to go find my little other hole saw, and I'll bring it right back. Did you notice I moved? Okay, here's what I used to cut out the rest of it. So I got the hole saw cut through the metal, and then this is actually a tile, a hole saw for cutting through tile. And I don't know if you can see it, but it kind of sparkles. That's because there's diamonds all along the edge, and on this cutting edge, and then on the sides a little bit too. So what I ended up doing was my trusty spray bottle and I, with water, drilled in a number of places to get started, so I could get along the edge as close as I could and have something to keep me from having to just slip off the side of the holes. I had grooves cut in here a little bit. I ended up getting a hole cut here and another one cut like here, and then all that other plan just kind of fell apart. Fortunately for me, I was saved by the fact that these diamonds are on this edge here, and I was able to sort of use this in a fashion almost like this, just cocking it in there and pulling it through and just eating off this material until I could get my burner in there. So if you're going to do this with fire brick, that's how I did it. Boy, there's got to be a better way, and I wish you the best of luck, and I hope you figure it out before you get started, because man, it's a bear to get through. I probably spent an hour digging this hole in here. I hope it'll be fine. But anyway, that was the hardest part about this whole thing. So there it is. I'm going to put it on the ground here. I'm going to light it up and show you what it looks like. It's pretty impressive. I'm hoping I got to find a crucible. Have I mentioned that? I need a crucible. Anyway, that's it. Let's put it on the ground and get it fired up. Test. Okay, so here we are looking into the top of the furnace. It is not pretty, as you can see. It's pretty rough, but that's just because If you've watched the other videos, you'll see that, you know, it's hard. It was hard to get the refractory cement to get to mold in here, to put in here. It's just not a very practical material for trying to do this sort of work with. But this is it. It's got an opening that's about a little over 7 inches across from looking down from the top. Yeah, about 7. And it's just at about 9 inches deep. So 7 by 9. I'm looking to get I got to find a crucible that'll fit. 6 inch might be just a little bit too much. 4 inch, 6 inch, I don't know. We'll have to figure it out, but that's it. And then the lid, as you saw, lift the lid up, lift the lid up, we'll swing around and drop down on here. So there's not going to be any me dropping this thing or anything like that. It'll be perfect. Just lift it up, it'll swing away, bring it back in place, drop it down. And even when I lift it up, if I let it go, it stays up. I got it stopped. So let's fire this thing up. I'll show you what it looks like. Now, one thing you'll notice, because of the because I got the flare on the end of the tube, I believe that it's just staying lit. It's not a problem. I don't have to worry about the crucible or the foundry walls getting hot or anything like that. It just runs, and that's barely open. I've got, let me show you the shut-off valve. You can see the shut-off valve there. There is just barely open in this case. I'll go ahead and open it up about halfway. Let you see the flame. There's halfway. I got flame going everywhere. And if I cut this thing, there you go. Pretty sure I'm going to be able to melt some metal in there if I just had a crucible. Anyway, there's my foundry furnace. Sorry about that, foundry furnace. I can't wait to start casting and start doing things, but I wanted to show you that I finally got the dumb thing finished. So you guys have a great day, take care, and we'll catch you on the next one. Hey, as always, thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and click the thumbs up button down below. It really does help. If you'd like to be notified when we publish new content, go ahead and click my channel icon to subscribe. And finally, while you're here, take some time to check out some of our other videos. Have a great day and get out there and do something new today.